day, Internet.
Good day, Internet.
Oh,
Hello.
what? Internet again?
Tom, the internet never sleeps.
Seriously, I really wish it would sometimes. Take a
I
nap,
know.
Internet. Come on.
Do you ever have like, this is a silly question because I know we all do this.
I have a silly
Yeah.
answer then.
Good. For example, sometimes I'm like, I've got a few hours free today. Like I can do anything. I can do
When?
anything I want. And so I'm
Okay.
like, let's do internet things. It's like, it's just in my nature at this point. It's like, maybe I'm not doing specific work stuff, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's still just my routine.
Let's see what's on the Internet.
Yeah. What are they saying about Kendrick today? Sometimes I do
was with
that where I'm
my-
like, I've gotten to the end of the internet. Maybe I should
Let's
just
see
look up
some
Kendrick
Pacers
Lamar.
memes.
Oh, they're pretty grim after last night. But I was with my 9-year-old niece and 6-year-old nephew over the last 48 hours, and they were delighted by Google VO3, the video engine, for which I let them know. I don't think they really appreciated that this is a true act of love, considering how much each video costs on Google VO3. And you realize that when you're talking with a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old, their realm of creativity.
Well, you just remind them
Is
that again
limited.
at Christmas. Remember?
Yeah,
Remember
exactly.
in
You're not
June?
getting a present from Uncle Justin because
Yeah,
of
you
all
got
these
your
video
bankrupt
credits
after
that
your
I burnt.
VO3 credit.
There's a lot. The 6-year-old defaulted at a startling rate to asking me to make videos of Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon. So
Okay, yeah.
that was a big thing. But some of the videos that we did make, I put up on Twitter, which are very funny, considering when you know that they are children that are demanding that
Yeah.
I just make videos of them. If it weren't for the fact that VO3 will not create audio when you create an image of a child or a video of a child. So
Okay.
I'm like, all right, it's funnier if it has audio. So you're going to have to make videos of yourselves as adults if you want video or audio, which they did. They're pretty silly. It's a lot of them yelling something funny and then turning into a thing that they want, which is one of them. The girl was a unicorn. The boy was a dragon. But it was a good time. Good, clean fun with AI.
It reminds
fun for
me,
the whole family.
Yeah, it reminds me of my niece and I doing Udio, where she's like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
can you make it sound like this? Can you put these lyrics in? Can you do that?" And it's like, kids. I mean, it's a trope, it's a cliche to say, kids pick up technology so fast, but they really do. And for them, it's like, yeah, now it's normal to be able to just tell a computer to do a thing and it'll spit it out.
We did a bunch of Suno stuff too.
Yeah.
That was fun. We had and then I wound up getting sucked into subscribing because they have a new 4.5 engine that's like really good.
That's how they get you.
It's really, really good. I got obsessed with the idea. Maine texted me about, some of the stuff that's happening in the news. And so I wound up getting obsessed with the idea of doing entirely factual songs. So to have the songs not rely on metaphor. So they're not like inspired by the event. They are literally like, if you listen to the lyrics, if I make an earworm catchy enough, you'll just remember real facts about Operation Midnight Hammer.
Interesting.
So I'll send them to you. But they came out like, they came out pretty good. I re-listened to them this morning, and I was like, it's like, yeah, I could bang away at it, but it was a pretty good.
This is the future of
first
news.
stab.
You've just discovered, Justin. You realize that.
Well, I legitimately, there was a part of me where I'm like, I wonder, is that against? I couldn't remember where iTunes and Spotify and Apple Music were with AI music.
You can
Like what
upload
they're-
it. You have to label it.
Yeah.
And there's some other things like it can't sound like too much like something that exists already.
Yeah. Well, then maybe I'll just upload my my metal recitation of Operation Midnight Hammer and explaining
2-minute warning.
all the names of the equipment and there's just a lot. Anyway, so I got sucked into doing that, but it was very fun. My sister-in-law is currently engaging in local politics in Mansfield, Ohio, to try and lobby to allow backyard chickens for non-farm residencies.
That's great.
And so we made an anthem, a dance anthem for the city council to allow 6 chickens per backyard.
That's
It's
great.
funny, when and I don't know if this is true in Los Angeles because I just don't have a backyard, so it wouldn't matter to me. But I have several neighbors who have probably chickens, but definitely roosters because you can hear them. And when my mom was visiting a couple of months ago, she was like, you're not allowed to have roosters in the city. And I was like, really?
You can keep between 4 to 12 chickens if you are zoned for a single family home and have a fenced in yard in Los
But what
Angeles.
about roosters? Is it
you know,
all
it says
because
4
they're
to
trying
12
not to have too many
chickens.
chicks?
It says
Yeah,
4 to 12
so-
chickens, so that would be roosters and or hens.
Oh, okay.
Speaking
So you
from
can have a family. You can have a family.
speaking from the point of view
Very
of my sister-in-law, no rooster thing is a non-negotiable part of their pitch. They want no roosters.
Here comes no rooster.
One day I'll have a farm and we can all just live there with all of
Yeah.
our animals. It'll be fine.
When we buy the farm, what?
Well, not that farm, Tom.
Yeah, bump.
I was hoping we were closer to go time, but
Close.
when you send me to the farm.
Have a good show, everybody.
Some farms are nice. Good day, Internet. This is DTNS Live for Monday, June 23rd, 2025. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
In Los Angeles, I'm Tom Merritt.
From deep in the heart of Texas, I'm Justin Robert Young.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
DTNS Live is made possible by chickens and also people. Big thanks
Cluck,
to the
cluck,
people, Norm Fazekas, Chris Allen, Reed Fischler, and 2 new patrons, Mr. Bisk and Okie Dokie 27.
Oh, hitting him with the okie doke.
Is Okie Dokie 27 a reference to the NBA champion Thunder?
Oh, maybe.
Oh, that could be it. That could be it. Either way, clever patron names are encouraged.
Indeed. And
Go
absolutely.
for it.
Keep 'em
We're
coming.
just glad to have you. Welcome to DTNS Live, everybody. Wherever you are, whenever you are, this is the show where we discuss the tech news to help us all understand it a little bit better. And we do it with you coming along for the ride. How's everybody doing? Justin Robert Young, I heard Austin got a new fleet of cars this weekend.
Oh, we're going to talk about it, but let's just say that as somebody who weekly walks up and down South Lamar, I might get hit and killed by a robotaxi.
Oh, wow. That's
Your chances just went up.
Yeah. It's still vanishingly small. I'm
The
probably
chances
going
are
to get
not
hit and killed
zero.
by a human, but
Yeah.
I might, you know.
You've got a slightly larger chance now.
It's now in play.
Yeah.
How about you, Tom? How was your weekend?
I did not come in contact with any autonomous cars all weekend long. It was great.
Yeah. Well,
We spent the weekend trying to entertain our dog.
have you learned to juggle?
Did you succeed?
How hard do you have to try?
At one point, entertaining the dog meant letting him go into the bushes and pull out every stick that he could find and leave it in the yard as he got bored with it and moved on to find another one.
Maybe he's trying to build like a little fort.
He wasn't building. He was just he was spacing them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and how about you, Raj? Looks like you're back in your home that we know you love so well.
I did a lot of around the house cleaning because I need to take pictures for my upcoming insurance inspection.
You know, you have the best stories.
Yeah, they're the most exciting. I have all my.
You know
all-
what? He tells it like it is, Tom.
I mean, my days are literally working for someone else. The insurance, which is
No
funny
one-
because I'm paying the insurance company.
No
Well, we
one
want you to do
spits
this
it
for us.
realer than Roger Chang.
It's true. It literally, yeah.
Now I got to go find some stencils because I got to paint my address on the curb because
Maybe you
apparently
should
that's
go
an
into
issue.
your backyard and pull some sticks out of the bushes.
Yeah.
I pulled out a lot of weeds over the weekend. A lot of
Listen,
weeds.
I told the stick story. It wasn't that great. Didn't nothing. Roger tells that story. Laminar Rainbow gave us $3 super sticker. So there you go.
Hey,
There we
well,
go.
you know,
Super
different-
Sticker Chang, they're calling him.
Nothing excites the masses more than insurance talk.
different weekend updates for different folks.
You'd be surprised.
Well, if you are listening live like Laminar Rainbow, you can name this episode. Head on over to dtns.showbot.tv. That's where throughout the show, people will submit titles and also vote on them, and you can join in on the fun. We'll check back in on the votes at the end of the show. Now, let's kick it off with a few tech stories that caught our eye.
Lenovo, a Chinese company, announced its Chromebook Plus 14, which runs an ARM-based MediaTek chip and, more significantly, has a neural processing unit that can handle up to 50 TOPS. It also has up to 17 hours of battery life, comes with a fingerprint sensor, and it's the first Chromebook with Dolby Atmos sound. Lenovo Chromebook Plus 14 is available now for $649. A lot of new
OpenAI
Gemini functions in a Chromebook. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's starting at $649, but that's a good starting point for this guy. OpenAI removed references to Jony Ive's hardware startup called I.O., that's I.O., the letters I.O., from its site and social media after a trademark lawsuit was filed by hearing device company I.O., I-Y Big O. So two different companies. Hearing device company has taken issue with I.O. and they've got a trademark dispute. But OpenAI says the $6.5 billion hardware partnership with Ive's I.O. is still moving forward. The original announcement included a joint video with both Ive and Sam Altman, but was taken down due to a court order.
I believe that's pronounced VidIO.
VidIO. Yeah, I screwed that one up.
This was
Yeah.
a very exciting few hours on Twitter, apparently, that I entirely missed because I was on a flight back from Ohio, but I was only I got a deluge of everything recapped by the time that I landed.
Yeah, because everybody's like, why did they strip it out? Is the deal off? You know, is
Yeah.
this thing falling apart?
Right.
And it's like, no, they just can't say the name temporarily because
Yeah, I mean, OpenAI has
would get mad.
more or less said, like, this is what we think is a baseless lawsuit, but for now,
Yeah,
we have to go
it's-
through the motions.
It is interesting because IO, the IYO, is a Google X spinout that is creating a device that listens to a bunch of stuff that you are doing and then would process it via AI. So there is a question of whether or not this is similar to one of the devices that Jony Ive and Sam Altman are cooking up. Which
Well,
we,
with
of course, don't
trademark,
know.
there just has to be potential for confusion. And if one company is making hardware with AI and the other company the other name was going to be used for hardware with AI, doesn't even matter what the products are. At that point, the judge is going to be
Yeah.
like, yeah, these could be confused. I
Yeah.
don't see how OpenAI could win this, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, they could say that they never planned on using IO as a brand name, and that was just an
Yeah,
internal
sure,
designation, and blah 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 blah.
Okay.
But who knows?
Yeah, fair.
Microsoft announced in a blog post that this week Xbox insiders will get a version of the Xbox PC app for Windows that will aggregate, quote, leading PC storefronts from other game companies. The app will scan for games once that you've installed on your PC and from other game stores, and then aggregate them into the library section. Now, if you don't want it, you can actually turn this function off. But the idea is that regardless of where you've purchased a game, you'll be able to access it from one locale, furthering Microsoft's commitment, I believe, into making sure that Xbox is an everywhere thing.
This is what you get on the Ally, but you can now have it on Windows, basically, right?
The idea is that there will moving forward in the future, there won't be this kind of like it's a PC game or it's Xbox. It's all going to be.
Yeah, you won't have to know. It'll just be like, you want to play the game? Xbox app can let you play the game wherever you have the game. Don't worry about it.
Remember that commercial? It's a car, it's a truck, it's an El Camino.
No.
You have to be of a certain age, but you guys are Justin. Maybe you're a little young for this, but come on, you guys don't remember that commercial?
I totally remember that commercial.
Okay,
El Camino.
Maybe where I lived, El Camino's
Still
were the
to this
popular
day, every
seller.
time I see one, which is rare, I'm like, it's a car and a truck.
It's the
It's a
mullet of
ranchero.
automobiles.
All right, everybody. Those were the top 3 stories that caught our eye today. Let's move on to some discussions. Bloomberg reported over the weekend that Apple is considering acquiring Perplexity AI to help build an AI-powered search engine and boost its Siri capabilities. M&A chief Adrian Perica has reportedly discussed the idea internally with Eddie Q and other senior AI leaders, though Apple has not said to have made any sort of formal offer. So this is definitely a Bloomberg rumor at this point, but, Bloomberg has good Apple sources. Partnership is also being explored, potentially, as an alternative, which could give Apple a fallback if regulators force it to end its multi-billion-dollar deal with Google for search.
Good
So-
idea. Rob Dunwood and I both have said this multiple times, and we talked about it on briefing today. Like, we've been saying, Apple probably needs to buy its way back into the AI race. Looking at Perplexity makes sense. I don't know that Perplexity is a cultural fit for Apple, because Perplexity likes to be a little more arrogant and fast and loose than Apple likes to be these days. I think Mira Murati's thinking machines might be a better fit, and apparently they've been considering that as well. Certainly Meta is also reportedly looking at Perplexity and thinking machines, and Ilya Sutskever's startup. I think Apple probably needs to do this, and maybe Meta does too.
We're going to talk about some of the race with these companies in a second, but I do think that when we're talking about Perplexity as an Apple product, it would be a good fit. The question is Apple in a position where they are willing to admit that they need to work from behind on something? It's not a position that they have been in. They have always marched to their own drum, but there are times in that company's history where they had to realize that they needed to get better at things. Web services was one of them. Even under the vaunted leadership of Steve Jobs, their web services were always subpar. They eventually got better to the point where they are good now. But this is something where if they buy Perplexity, they kind of need to make Perplexity better. And that has not been the case with a lot of the things that they have purchased.
Yeah, usually they buy something because it just already is something that people have overlooked and is good. People have not overlooked Perplexity. It's got a lot of buzz. So I feel like they would go for something that maybe is in a better position, but people don't know that it is. That's another reason why I think thinking
But
machines
I
might be
think that this is the kind of thing that they do need to buy. But
Definitely.
the problem is like
Absolutely.
they can't say, all right, now we're going to make you Apple, right? They can't buy Dark Skies and then make it a subsection of a subfile of weather. They need to buy this thing that people like and then say, we're redesigning what we do around what the audience is looking for here. We want to bring the Apple sheen to where the market is. Because here's the reality of what's happened. We just saw all the big developers conferences that happened over the last few weeks, as is now our annual tradition. And what you've seen is that OpenAI is comfortable where they are. Google's happy with their progress, and they should be. Those two are pretty undeniable. Meta, Apple, we saw them both come out of their developers conferences, and what are they doing? Panicking. I mean, you see Zuckerberg is out here making 9-figure offers to key talent at other companies, and he's being so forward by emailing them themselves that the developers don't know that it's actually Zuckerberg. They think it's a spam email. That story came out today. Apple is obviously not going to move with the same kind of sweaty nature as what is happening at Meta because they are a larger company and they mostly make their money on hardware. But looking at this is a realization to say, we're behind. We need to catch up. And if we don't catch up, there are existential consequences to this. Like that's what I'm looking at with both of these companies. They see this as a coming iceberg that they need to get on top of.
Yeah, the whole, Apple intelligence, we've been talking about this for a while. And Apple clearly has fumbled the bag. And sure, you can say, well, they just want to get it just right. And maybe that's true. And that in a great scenario should be the way that you do things. because that's sort of the Apple way, or just remarket it as, we've done it better than anyone else. That's why we're last. But when it comes to AI stuff, I really do think that if you get left behind, you're behind. I mean, you're really, really behind at this point. So Apple picking up a company like Perplexity, and maybe this doesn't end up happening, but it makes sense to me because I think there's a scramble thing going on, especially with all the big guys, the big guys and gals of big tech trying to be the best at all of this. Also, there are so many startups that are doing such interesting AI stuff, and they all work a little bit differently. I mean, there's a lot of overlap, but like you said, Tom, before, it's like Perplexity or Anthropic or what OpenAI is doing with ChatGPT and its other models. They're all a little different. You might be, as a developer, like, oh, this is the one for me, and you might want to tinker around a lot. They can't all exist forever. I mean, sure, I guess they can exist forever in some form, but they're not all going to profit forever. These smaller companies are going to get gobbled up by the larger companies, and that's just how these types of things work.
And don't forget, Perplexity doesn't have its own models. It just uses all the other models. And so if it were more of a cultural fit for Apple, I'd say it's a lock. I feel like culturally Apple might shy away, but the idea of having somebody that brings in technology that's good at just using the perfect model to provide the perfect response is probably a better move than trying to catch up in the race at this point. But it would be giving up on the race, which I think in long term is probably bad for Apple.
I don't think Apple can exist without a top of the line LLM that they train themselves. They need to be in this space. And I know that these are different divisions and you don't want to read into the connection to them, but I do think that part of the problem that Apple has faced right now, both in the reporting from Bloomberg a few weeks ago, that they did not see the worth in what OpenAI was doing until ChatGPT popped. And then you still, to this day, have their own research lab talking about the upper ends of reasoning capabilities for LLMs, does not, to me, speak of a top-down culture which says we need to run through this wall for the future of Apple, that we need to make sure that we are creating our version of this because we have such a lead in hardware. I don't know. I wouldn't shock me if they bought them. Wouldn't shock me if they then turn it into something less than, which has been, again, the history with these acquisitions.
You mentioned Dark Sky, so.
I know.
Don't forget, they also bought the iPod. That one worked out. So, they bought
but
Tony
again,
Fadell's company.
I mean, are we,
You could cherry pick lots of examples.
Before Steve or after Steve, right?
Yeah. All right, Tom, the provision of the U.S. budget bill that would prohibit regulations still alive. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, AI regulations. There's a provision in the big, beautiful bill that would prohibit most kinds of regulation of AI by state laws for 10 years. There's some carve-outs. They're like, oh, if you want to promote AI, great. You want to restrict it? No. The Congress is using the budget reconciliation process to pass the entire bill, which is about way more than just this part. That lets them pass it with a simple majority. We're not going to get into all the complications. Go check out PX3 Congressional Dish if you want to figure that out a little better. But the short version is the bill can only contain things that pertain to budget stuff. The parliamentarian is the one that makes those calls of whether it counts as budget stuff or not. I didn't think she would allow the AI regulation to be in here since it's about regulation, but I missed a piece. The actual bill says that Congress is not making it illegal for states to regulate AI. They can continue to do that. The bill says states won't get funding for broadband infrastructure improvements if they regulate AI. That is a budget thing. So now it's up to the senators and representatives after them to decide if it stays in or not. And there has been some backlash to it staying in, whether the parliamentarian kept it or not. Thankfully, we have the man who lives and breathes politics on the show today to shed some light on this, Justin. Who's for this provision? How did it end up in this bill?
Yes, AI in politics. Welcome to the gray area, my Venn diagram for which I live. Who is pushing for this? every tech lobbyist in DC. This is a huge priority for all of these companies. We just mentioned everybody in that first segment, right? OpenAI, Google, Apple, Meta. They all believe existentially that LLMs are going to be the future of computing. If they believe that, what they don't want is for a regulatory environment that they would say is European, right? What has happened in Europe that they believe has stifled AI development. They do not want that to happen in America. And so they are pushing for this. They are scared by what happened in California, where there was a state bill that made it all the way to Gavin Newsom's desk before he vetoed it, that would have restricted the ability to train models. Essentially, it would have created a state board that would have had oversight. And they don't want that because this is a field that is going very fast. They want to be able to compete with each other, and they don't want anybody to have a geographic advantage by spinning up something somewhere else outside of one state's boundaries. And so they are going to pass this. It's a 10-year moratorium on restricting AI stuff. That is a very broad term. But again, when you have everybody in tech that agrees on one thing, this is the kind of stuff they can push.
Yeah. And to be clear, what I didn't understand before is because I was like, wait, is that even allowed constitutionally to do that? Yeah, no, because they're not saying the state can pass any regulation it wants on AI. Go for it. The federal government doesn't have to give them broadband infrastructure funding. And what this bill says is if you do pass any kind of regulation that matches these descriptions, you won't get your funding.
It's basically the same thing that they do with the drinking age with the speed limits for
some
highway
safety
funding.
stuff. Yeah.
I would say the argument for this, the argument from the industry's perspective is that even if you wanted to create effective legislation, the tech is so young that you don't really know what you would best regulate, and that any kind of law would be a projection of what you believe is actually the issue here. And that was what they had a problem with when it came to the California law, because that was about, it was regulating stuff based on the amount of compute you would use to train the model, right? Now, you can make an argument that training models is not going to be the problem. That is where the puck has been. If you see what's happening right now, the idea of training larger and larger and larger models is something that it will always be done, but that might not be where the main innovation is. And so a law like that would have put an onerous restriction on something that might have wound up not mattering as much and just hampered development in general. So that's their argument. Their argument is that this is a young field and you don't want to be like Europe and basically put laws in preemptively that prevent you from competing.
I wonder if we're going to see a lot more lawsuits if this sticks, because you just saw Disney and Universal team up to sue Midjourney. Theory kicking around is, well, they're doing that because Midjourney doesn't have as good a lawyers as other companies, so they think they could win. But it's Disney and Universal because they know that the government isn't going to do that. And so if you have this pass and you're like, well, we know the government is not going to do any of this, do you get a lot more citizen groups or organizations, trying to throw roadblocks in the way? And even if they do, does it make a difference?
See, I look at lawsuits like that and I see Viacom suing YouTube. That this is obviously anything that involves the internet and involves user creation is going to eventually involve copyright infringement. Like that is a law we have seen.
Yeah.
We have been around these halls enough to understand that you can't have one without the other. If you are allowing users to generate stuff, eventually they're going to make Bart Simpson or they're going to upload an episode of The Simpsons, right? That's just a thing that happens. Where I think we're going in generative AI, in many ways, news, entertainment specifically, is that what these companies want is a payment structure. They want to get a fraction of a cent every time you make Darth Vader. They don't really want to kill it unless they want to get into the market themselves. but ultimately surfacing this kind of stuff can be a revenue stream if there is money coming in. Now, whether or not Midjourney is the place to do for that, who knows? But they might be testing those walls because eventually they're gonna, come for some of the bigger players.
Yeah, I just, and we should remind people, like, this doesn't say that the federal government can't do AI regulation either. The federal government absolutely could. And if Congress changes hands, they might try. I doubt they'll try very hard otherwise, at least for the next few years. But, Sarah, I don't know. Is there a concern you have where you're like, I really think they should be making a law about this? Or are you like, well, it's not touching me yet?
Well, it isn't touching me yet on a personal level, but yes, I don't know. I mean, I reside in California. If California has a bill that was specific to Californians, then okay. I don't personally think that is going to work stateside in the U.S. in general. Just having a bunch of different AI laws, it sounds messy to me, but yeah, this is also ever evolving, and the bill as it has been put forth is just, so many people have so many feelings about it. A lot of big feelings.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that's being debated now. There's, a time frame on when it might get voted in the Senate, and then how different it is from the stuff in the House. That's a big messy thing that's eventually going to likely result in it getting passed in late August. All that being said, there's no really clean lines party-wise on who is mad about this. You've got folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene on the right that's very mad about it, that she wants the ability for states to regulate AI. And then you have other folks, Democrats and Republicans that are on the other side. So it's a little esoteric, but also I do think that it's probably the right thing politically for the industry to push right now, the AI industry, if even just looking at timing. Because again, there's not one coalesced argument as to how AI should be regulated. There's a lot of fear that AI is going to hurt you. There's much bad feeling about what AI is, but there's no one, you need to ban blank or you need to do X that is out in the air in terms of a law solution, a legislative solution.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's, the big conversations are is AI going to make everybody unemployed? That's a huge concern, right? Some people think that that's true. A lot of other people don't. Many of us are somewhere in the middle of this, or like, the AI is going to kill you. It's like, well, let's hope that doesn't happen, but let's also just make sure that it doesn't. And if states can do that,
I am
individually
against,
better than at the federal level, then okay. But let's figure out a really good reason for that to be.
I just want to be clear right now. I know it's political, but I want to make it clear my position. I am against AI putting everyone out of a job or killing anyone. Just
Tom for president.
I mean, it's a little controversial, Tom, but okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to get that
maybe
out there.
start with mayor. Start with mayor.
The mayor
then you
of
do
AI
gov,
town.
Then you do pres.
As a large
Why?
language mayor.
No, just go straight. People just go straight to president these days. You know.
I suppose.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, come on.
What do you want to hear us talk about on the show? You're like, I don't know if I like that. Or if you're like, more of that. One way to let us know is our subreddit. Submit stories and vote on them at reddit.com/r/Daily Tech News Show. Do it now.
All right, Justin Robert Young, resident of Austin, Texas. Tesla started offering driverless rides in your city using a very, very small fleet, a little teeny tiny small fleet of 2025 Model Y SUVs running with its latest full self-driving software. Hey, a fleet is a fleet. Certain riders were invited to use a new app to hail rides. Again, a very small number of folks who were invited, which operate from 6 a.m. to midnight. The autonomous rides are technically autonomous. However, there is a human person sitting in the front passenger seat in all these rides at this point. All right, Justin, you're on the ground here. So what are your thoughts?
I'm actually literally on the ground here.
Hopefully you're not like lying on the ground.
Yeah, I'm not lying.
If you're not on the ground,
on the
can
ground.
you get off the ladder? Come on, sit on the ground like the rest of us.
So the robotaxi zone, for those that are aware of South Austin, stretches from the river that bisects South Austin from downtown down to Ben White Boulevard, which is 290 and 71. It's a big east-west corridor for the city. It encompasses a lot of touristy elements. South Lamar is a famous drag that is famous for the Alamo Draft House, as well as South Congress, which has become very popular over the last decade or so. This is a tiny fleet. When you said tiny fleet, it's 10 cars, at least right now. That's a little bit less of a fleet and more of a dinner party. But
It's a flet, I believe. We call it a flet.
Yeah. It is a well-attended party right now. It is a very interesting technical solution, though, that they are going for. And Elon Musk went and did a few interviews to commemorate this. He mentioned that he believes that these will be safer than Waymos. And his argument was that in all of their usage of full self-driving technology, as ridiculous as you might want to say that name is, but they have done a lot of on-the-road research with this stuff. He said that they found that ultimately the best solution was cameras plus neural networks. And that if you have competing inputs of radar, LiDAR, and cameras, that ultimately if they come back and say conflicting things, like the radar says there's a person in front of us, but the camera says no, it's a bunch of smoke, then what does the car decide to do? And that it is those conflicting points that wind up causing more accidents than they stop in vehicles like Waymos, which do have all that kind of data coming in. So more data does not necessarily equal more safety. That is Tesla's
Well,
argument.
and this is also, if you're arguing against this is also in response to people saying, you want radar, cameras, LiDAR, you want all of it. You want it all to work. For example, in a Waymo, which is all over certain again, urban areas. My area is one of them, and seems to be doing quite well.
So that's their pitch. That's what they say is going to be their value add. And certainly they do have a ton of data. The idea that they would only be operating in a small footprint where they would know exactly where all the turns, nooks, and crannies are, plus their ability to apply all their data from full self-driving, that is a big advantage for them. That being said, this is a bit of a sweaty, desperate move by Tesla. They are acting like this is a gigantic launch of a product when they have 10 cars running that was on an invite-only list that was all mega fans, like Tesla mega fans. They didn't bring anybody that was anything other than an absolute in-the-tank fan of theirs. And that's fine. They're allowed to roll this out however they want. But it shows you that from Tesla's perspective, they believe this is the future. They believe that they can roll this out aggressively. They believe that they can be safer. They believe that they're going to be able to allow Tesla owners to just hit a button on their app and then their car drives away and makes them money. That is something that Elon has pitched for years and years and years, which would give them stock that no other company could match. If that's the case, then this is a boon for Tesla, but it's a pretty big bet. And I think it's fascinating to see where that company is right now.
Yeah, Amazon is testing the Zoox autonomous cars that it owns in Austin and did not get the hoopla that the Tesla launch got. No. And it's pretty much on par. Waymo is actually operating, but I don't think it's operating like it is in Los Angeles.
It's operating. They're all over the place in Austin. Yeah.
Okay. Have you ridden in one in Austin yet? The Waymos?
I have not, but I've seen
Okay.
plenty of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is. So it's finally ramped up to about the same as it is in central Los Angeles.
It is by far the most common autonomous vehicle that you see here in Austin. Yes.
I'll also say, and I know that this is probably temporary just because Tesla's trying to, do the right thing with the rollout, but the idea that you get into the autonomous car, so with a Waymo, if I were to hail a Waymo outside my house right now, in a couple of minutes, human drivers are still always faster. So shout out to the human drivers. But, in a couple of minutes, it'll roll up. I get in the back seat. It knows where I'm going because I've already told it all that on the app, and then we're off and running. If there's a person in the front passenger seat, that's almost weirder to me than if there's a person in the driver's seat.
I know what you mean. It shouldn't be any different, but
Because it's
because
sort of
they're
like,
not in the
we're
driver's
sharing the
seat.
ride.
Yeah.
Hi. Now I feel obligated to
Talk to you.
say hello to you.
So,
Yeah.
work for Tesla?
When it's a driver, listen, we've all been in taxis, right? It's like we've been doing
Sure.
this
Yeah.
forever. Like you get in the back of a car, they know where you're going, they're taking you,
Freaking
you're paying
Giuliani.
them, all good. Maybe you chat, maybe you don't. Uber over the years has been very similar, or Lyft.
Yeah.
And the whole promise of the autonomous vehicles was like, it's just you're just chilling. You're just chilling in the car. You can take that phone call. You don't have to worry about, making niceties with somebody you don't know. But the passenger seat is almost sort of like, what's your story, sir? Or
Well,
madam?
what we are assuming with the passenger seat person is that this is some requirement either from the city of Austin or from the Texas Department of Transportation that is requiring them to put a physical person in these vehicles,
Right.
and that's
And if
probably a hard cap.
If they were
on
not
their
confident
fleet.
about the autonomous driving, they'd put them in the driver's seat. This is just, it
They wanna
does
show
feel
off,
like
yes.
something sort of like we're just checking some boxes.
In fact,
That-
Governor Abbott just signed the law, signed into law the law that says starting September 1st, to be an autonomous car service in Texas, you have to have a license. You have to have a special license unless you have the human safety drivers. So I imagine Tesla did
Yeah.
that as a preventative measure just in case.
Yeah, and that, it does show that, look, Texas wants to lean into this. Obviously, they have become a home for certain businesses, and Elon's businesses are a big part of the state, so he has a lot of sway there. Austin does share the weird distinction of being the state capital as well as a state that or a city that by its voting would not be particularly thrilled with Elon in terms of his
Austin weird.
support of the Republican Party. But it's interesting, and Tesla has blocked certain disclosures that have been sought through FOIA requests from media on trade secrets grounds, both with the Texas Department of Transportation and Austin's legal framework. So we'll see. I mean, I'm excited to get in. I'm on the list for robotaxi. If there's any robotaxi person that wants to greenlight me, I'm excited to
Get
take
Justin
it,
on the
and also
list by
extend
this-
beyond Ben White, because I live just beyond Ben White. So if you can pick me up from my house, it's so much easier. I
So
take
wait,
these
it's
all
just-
the time.
It's just my old neighborhood, it sounds like. 78704.
Yeah, it's if you're in the
Okay,
area,
let's not dox ourselves.
you know,
I don't live there
between
anymore. It's just a,
between
Justin,
Lamar.
though, I don't want. Yeah,
Lamar and South Congress, between the river and Ben White. That's pretty much where it is. So if you need a ride from, on Old Torf or anything like that, you need to go from.
you just call your old friend Justin because he's going to be walking otherwise.
They'll be at the
I
HEB
did-
on Old Torf waiting for you.
Yeah, I did see a few weeks ago what I am assuming was a mapping vehicle for robotaxi, because it was what looked to me, and again, it was driving at normal speeds down South Lamar while I was walking, but it looked like a Tesla with just a tripod that was crudely mounted to the top with some kind of webcam on top of it. So I'm like, all right, I'm assuming that is something to do with robotaxi.
Was there a
'cause Elon's
driver in
been
it?
hinting. I did not get
tell,
enough of a visual to know that, but I knew that Elon had been talking about bringing robotaxis to Austin for a while now, and so Yeah, we will see, but I'm excited for our autonomous driving future.
All right, Roger. A new observatory located in the Chilean Andes mountain range has released test images from the largest camera ever built.
Yes. So the Vera C Rubin Observatory that was built in Chile is tasked with doing astronomical surveys of the entire sky every day, essentially building a time-lapse movie of the universe. Now, the project was funded by the U.S. National Science Foundation, the U.S. Department of Energy. Construction actually began back in 2015, but full operation is to start at the end of this year, toward the end of this year. To help it with this goal, it is what they refer to as a reflecting telescope. In other words, the image is reflected off a giant mirror into the sensor. It's considered to be the largest, most powerful digital camera in the world, a 3.2 gigapixel, which is 3,200 megapixels. A prime focus.
But megapixels don't tell the whole story. How big's the sensor?
Yeah. Well, it's very, very big.
It's huge.
It's the entire telescope comes in around 350 metric tons. It's so heavy it flexes a little bit under its own weight. So they have it on a turntable that slowly moves it from different positions to get the sky. Now, during a typical day, it will consume around 20 terabytes of data. At the life of the project, it's expected to run around 60,000 terabytes at the end of this survey. And the idea is that by taking these hyper high resolution images of the night sky over a time lapse, they can see how the universe is expanding, as well as expecting to see some 20 billion unique galaxies, 17 billion stars in our Milky Way galaxy, 10 million supernovas, and possibly millions of smaller objects within our solar system. So if there is a plausible ninth hidden planet, because Pluto got demoted, a ninth hidden planet in our solar system, this observatory might be able to catch it.
Now, this is a stupid question, but the camera specs, very impressive. Would it not be better to have a camera in space taking photos?
Yeah, to get the atmosphere out of the way.
Yes,
and all of that.
ideally, yes, but you can't build it as large, right? Because you still have to take it
You have
into
to get it up there.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, it is a very, even though the James Webb, great telescope, but, you have to work within the limitations of your launch vehicle, as well as the fact that you need to fold everything. There's actually a lot of origami in satellite design. You have to figure out how all the panels fold in, so when they come out with the minimal of potential friction and damage to the sensor array. And the best, highest resolution telescopes we have are still Earth-based. They're typically in areas like in Chile where you can get above the clouds. One case is we have one in Hawaii that's up on the Big Island above where a majority of the clouds are, because the sky is clearer up there, and that gives them a better, clearer view with a much larger eye, if you want to use a very descriptive metaphor for it.
Yeah, so it limits the atmospheric interference because it's so high up. That makes sense.
When
you were listing
Maui probably would be similar. Or any volcano.
Anything high up.
Anything high enough. Yeah.
NASA used to fly 747s where, if you look at a hump portion of the plane, they modified it so it had a giant sliding door, and they would have basically a flying telescope. But again, you're limited to the size of the fuselage of the plane. So yes, you're above the atmosphere, but you don't have as big of a... What Tom was actually jokingly referring to earlier, it's the sensor size, right?
It's the size of
the
the
bigger
sensor,
it is,
it
the more
is.
sensitive it is to the various light waves, frequencies that you can get.
When you were pointing out how much data it is pulling down per day, 20 terabytes per day, which adds up very quickly, it reminded me, and we're going to plug it a little bit later, but the conversation that the official OpenAI podcast had with Sam Altman, he was talking about how we have a lot of scientific data that is bottlenecked by how fast we can go through it, how fast we can categorize it, how fast we can then explore things from there. And that's where a lot of AI, I think scientifically, will be able to meaningfully help speed up scientific understanding. If you look at like this data and then understand that, okay, we only have the capacity of how fast trained eyes can look through it, then it's very exciting to be in a world where this kind of data can be parsed quicker.
Yeah, because they say in the BBC article, you would need 400 4K TVs to show a single image from this.
Yeah,
this is not meant for you to just eyeball and go like, hey, I think I see what's going on.
I mean,
right?
this is one of those things where what you were saying, Justin, not only does it help, but it just speeds the process, right? If I have an assistant that just that tears through an image and says, highlight these sort of gaseous light waves, so because I'm looking for a specific thing, right?
Yes.
I'm looking for an exoplanet. I'm looking for a quasar. I'm looking for a pulsar. I'm looking for some black hole. They're going to have a very particular light pattern around it because of gravity. And so by helping you filter that, you can help those individuals who need the data, but they don't need all of it, right? One of the things that we had during our experiment week a while back, we had a paleontologist on, and it's like we have more data than there are people to process all those bits of information about different bones, different animals types, and it's just sitting there somewhere in a museum because there's not enough people to go through it. Yeah. And going through this is going to be amazing. Not only is the data that we're going to get is amazing, but if we can more quickly figure out what's happening, we can come to a better conclusion. And in one instance, they sort of, they're not joking, but it was a less serious tone about they could potentially see an Earth, extinction event asteroid, on its way to Earth a lot sooner.
Because they're capturing it. Yeah.
So, you can make your plans.
What was that
Where does
called?
the data? Where's this data center? Can we go and say, "Hello, sir. I would like just kind of the asteroid data."
I mean, a lot.
Can I give you my ChatGPT login? Can we just start uploading some photos?
I mean, it depends on how they want to make it available because it is done through the National Science Foundation Department of Energy.
Yeah, it should be openly available.
Yeah, it's typically all this information is available to the public.
Yeah.
But for this particular case, I don't know if they have a website like download your own image and help us figure it out.
Was the other big deal about this is there's been several discoveries happen by accident because they just happened to be scheduling the telescope to look for something in a part of the sky and caught something else they weren't intending to find. What this does is say we don't have to schedule what part of the sky to look at. We're capturing the entire sky all the time. That's like, let that sink in. That's huge. There's no more like, well, I've reserved it to look at this part of the sky on this part of the night. There's still a need for that because you can do things when you focus on one part of the sky that you can't when you're trying to get the whole thing. But this is amazing that they're going to get it at that resolution all the time. That's going to bring a whole lot of things to the fore that no one would have ever seen before.
And the fact that it is timeless because they're capturing the same swath of sky that you can actually see it over time, things move, which is something that...
Do we have a consent issue with the planets we're viewing, though?
I don't know if terrestrial laws apply to extraterrestrial domains. So that is something up for, I guess, some extraterrestrial court to decide.
Can you imagine all the Saturn residents just being like, here they go again.
Hands off.
Yeah.
We did not approve of you constantly surveilling
this is
us.
our barbecue, okay? Well,
they have great barbecues outside.
If you live on a planet besides Earth, we would like to hear from you. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. That would be actually really, really helpful to us. But in the meantime, Dan Campos, who is also on Earth, just south of us in the U.S. in Mexico, is back with his latest report from Mexico, including Tubi acquiring Caliente TV and more.
Hi friends of DTNS. In Mexico, Caliente TV, the streaming platform created by the betting company Caliente, has been acquired by Tubi, which will gain the broadcasting rights to the Champions League, France's Ligue 1, the Premier League, the CONCACAF Champions Cup, Copa Italia, NASCAR Mexico, as well as matches from various Liga MX teams. Fox Corporation, the owner of Tubi, is preparing to launch a new subscription-based paid channel, so it is likely that this content will be transferred to that new service. An official announcement is expected to be on June 30, where more details will be shared. Current subscribers are expected to have their accounts migrated to the new platform under Fox Corporation. For this and more international headlines, check out the latest episode of Noticias de Tecnología Express. This week, we have a closer look at the new cybersecurity legislation in the state of Puebla and the serious concerns it's raising flagged by human rights and journalism groups across Mexico. Back to you, amigos.
Thank you, Dan. That is really interesting. To be getting a
Muchas
bunch
gracias.
of sports rights out of that. Yeah. Thanks so much, man. Sam wrote in about some folks' issues with the Wise cameras. Sam says, I've slowly been moving everything over to Eufy. The doorbell has more features than the Ring I replaced and does not require a subscription. Alexa devices can still function as the doorbell chime. The downward-facing second camera is great for monitoring package deliveries. I also purchased the Eufy home base for extra storage, so all my footage stays locally within my control and watching streams is much faster. I just set up a solar-powered external camera, and you can configure it so it connects directly to the home base instead of using Wi-Fi if you want. Costco carries Eufy products now and has good sales from time to time.
Well, there's some Costco folks out there who might be like, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. Eufy, not an ad here on DTNS, but a lot of people writing in to say, yeah, Eufy is working out for us.
Yeah, Eufy is apparently the and it's made by Anchor, so it's got some good reputation. It's apparently the smart home bargain device of choice.
Nice.
Well, if you have any other thoughts on smart home anything, remember you can send in your comments to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. And of course, if you're a patron, you already know this, but you can comment on anything we post to Patreon as well. We look at all your comments and thank you in advance for all the information that you send us, because then we know what you care about. Justin, we care about you very much. So
Thank you.
Yeah, when you're not with us, what are you up to these days? What's life like?
Well, the cat is out of the bag, and we were very happy that Andrew was able to join you guys on DTNS on Friday to talk about the official OpenAI podcast that is available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, everywhere that you get your podcasts. The first episode features Andrew in conversation with Sam Altman. I thought it was a great use of your time. It has been fascinating. I'm producing it. I guess that's the other headline, is that I've been
now I'll watch it.
Yeah. So it's been fascinating putting that together.
Until now, I was like, who would watch that stupid thing?
I guess I should now start saying whenever we talk about AI stuff that I produce the OpenAI podcast. But
Here you are saying.
it's interesting to see the reaction to it, and it's been fascinating working with OpenAI to get out these voices, because there's a lot of people inside the company that really just want access to a long form conversation that doesn't currently fit where they communicate. So really cool stuff on the way, and stay tuned.
Excellent. Well, Justin, the polls have closed. So it's time for us to project a winner in the title of the show at dtns.showbot.tv. It is too early to project a winner. Wow. We have a 5-way tie by the votes anyway. DTNS brought to you by Chickens, Free Range Taxis in Austin.
Yep.
OIIO, oh my. A perplexing Apple deal, and robotaxis are bigger in Texas.
Well, certainly not that tiny fleet.
The fleet number isn't, but maybe the actual car is. I don't know.
That's all car, no cattle.
Oh, is there a good acronym for some kind of sensor that sounds like cattle? I'll work on that one. Less of a fleet, more of a dinner party was suggested by Larry in Atlanta as the title.
It'd be a well-attended dinner party. 10 cars for a dinner party.
Rollicking dinner party, yeah.
You would need a couple tables for sure.
If you fold it, they will observe from space.
This is our barbecue, okay?
Saturn at it again.
Oh, Saturn.
That's what I just imagine the aliens being like, you know what, humans, we get it. You want to know more about us. We're doing our own thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
but if they know that we're watching, then just come say hi, right? Like
Maybe they
But
watched and they don't
but
like
that
what
is
they've
so-
seen.
That is so Earth of us to say. Come say hi and be polite, okay?
Yeah, that's what we're asking.
Maybe
or
the
other,
Saturns
or
are-
else don't complain.
Maybe Saturn's full of introverts.
All right, of course.
The rings, after all.
Sarah, what title won our hearts? Maybe not the
Well,
votes.
it was a close race, but we went with Lion Jim Videos free range taxis in Austin
Excellent. Thank you,
because
Lion
you
Jim
got
Video.
you got taxis, you got Austin, and then you have sort of egg references as well.
Yeah, you got
We had the chicken
chicken-esque.
one.
It's a little of everything.
an oblique chicken reference is always good. Thank you,
Oblique
Lion.
chickens are the best chickens.
We also got raises on Patreon from Thomas. Thank you, Thomas, for giving us a raise at patreon.com/DTNS.
Yay, Thomas.
Thanks to, again, Laminar Rainbow for the super sticker earlier and all the super stickers in the past. We appreciate you supporting us over on YouTube. Thanks to everybody watching on LinkedIn and on Twitch. Howard Yermish resubscribed for the 18th month at Tier 1. 29 months, some even at Tier 1. Zoe brings bacon with a couple bits. CPOT's 50 back for the 62nd month. Man, some children have gone their whole lives with CPOT's 50 subscribing to our Twitch channel. PC Milesy back on Prime for the 55th month. Rich SPK followed us. Good for that. Om7 followed us. Thank you for that. And appreciate everybody supporting us in all the ways, including patreon.com/DTNS.
If you're on the lookout for a fun gift, maybe you know somebody, maybe you love somebody, maybe you have a colleague who likes our show, head over to dailytechnewsshow.com/store where you can pick up a mug, a t-shirt, a mouse pad, some with our new DTNS live logo to help them know that you care about them and the podcast that they know and love as well. Good gifts also support the show. Or just get something for yourself. Does not have to be a gift. It can be a gift to you. Treat yourself. Good
Get something
conversations starters.
for someone who hates the show.
You could also do that. You can fight at your local cafe by, DTNS mug versus, I don't know, whatever podcast they like better to the death. To the
death.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
Take that, the town.
You're allowed to do it if it's about podcasts. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah,
That's true. That's actually it. That's a new part of the big, beautiful bill. People don't really read that part of it.
It's a lesser known provision. Yeah.
Yeah,
just-
you
Surprised the
you actually have to
parliamentarian
pay
allowed that one.
50 cents if you win, but that's how they
That's
made it
why
about
it's
the
budget
budget.
related.
Yeah.
But then you feel better about yourself, so it's all good. All right, everybody. You can watch us live Monday through Friday doing our thing, 4 p.m. Eastern. That is 2000 UTC. And find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. We're back doing it all again tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.